Okay, I want to remind you now what labor, this is wage, oops, and this is quantity of labor. What is labor demand? It's this generally a downward sloping curve. I'll make it green. And what does it represent? It represents the total demand for labor in some market, in some industry. And it's generally considered to be downward sloping because if you're a firm and you're hiring people, each additional person you hire does less to increase your revenue. I think we can all agree that that's probably true. You know, if you're working in a shop and you already have 5 people working, you can add a 6th person and it might help you work a little more smoothly, but each additional person, the 7th person that you add, the 8th person that you add, it has a diminishing return. But what the graph really represents here, you know, let's think about just a point. I still don't know how to just draw it. Here we go. There we go. There's a point. What does that mean? That means that this wage, the total amount of labor that firms are willing to hire is this amount here on this quantity here on the x-axis. And why is it exactly that quantity? Well, it's because that is the number of workers whose marginal revenue product is higher than that wage. In fact, that's all the workers to the left. So let's call this like some wage, some W prime, and this is some quantity, Q prime. I would use stars. Maybe I could switch it to a star pretty easily. Yeah, star sort of implies maybe it's an equilibrium. I didn't say it was an equilibrium, but maybe it's an equilibrium. Let's say it is. What does it mean? It kind of says there are these workers who are in this range who have an MRP, marginal revenue product, greater than W star, right? It's kind of this green line above this dot. Those are workers who are bringing more money into the firm than it costs to hire them of W star. How do I know that? How do I know that each worker that's hired between 0 and Q star is generating more revenue for the firm than the wage W star? There's a simple answer for that, which is the firm wouldn't hire him if that weren't true. You know, in this country, firms aren't forced to hire people. So if you choose to hire someone, we assume that means it's profitable for you to do so. It makes sense on your bottom line to hire that person. So everybody who's getting hired, and that you can either think of it as this green line above the dot or, you know, this blue line to the left of Q star, that quantity of people, those are all people whose MRP, remember that stands for marginal revenue product, their marginal revenue product is greater than this wage that they're being offered, W star. Does that make sense? I'm not getting any, there's no way for me to get feedback here unless somebody talks. What about everybody up here? Well, there are actually some workers here. This green line represents people, or at least hours available of people, and they're not getting hired. Why are they not getting hired? Well, because their marginal revenue product is too low. It's not necessarily their fault. They're not like they're bad workers, but the firm doesn't need them, right? Your marginal revenue product has to do with not just how good of a worker you are, but how badly the firm can use your services. So for this quantity to the right of Q star, there's still workers out there, but their marginal revenue product is below the wage. At least that's the concept of labor demand. Okay? You guys have any questions about that? I could ask something like this on a quiz. Let's have a quiz on this on Friday. So we'll have a debate Wednesday and we'll have a quiz Friday. Still no feedback. Anyone paying attention here? Okay, thanks guys. Um, so I want to do this exercise where there are firms who can hire people, and each person that they hire gives them some marginal revenue produced, MRP, but of course it's going to be decreasing. So I'd imagine the first person you hire will give you a lot of marginal revenue product, the second one less, third less, fourth less. Maybe at some point it becomes not worth it to hire people. But you will decide the wages, and the firms will decide actually no, you'll form a contract. The workers and the firms will decide collectively, they will bargain if you want to, whether you will work for this person and what your wage will be. Let's imagine the case where the workers had absolutely no bargaining power. What would that be like? What if the workers, I said to every worker, you have to get a job. If you don't get a job, you lose 100 points. Would that be weird? What could the firms do? Well, they could collude, although if there's two firms and they're not colluding, they would still compete with each other. But still, there would be this power that the firms have, knowing that if a worker doesn't work, they'll be screwed. So they could really lower the wages. And in fact, the supply of labor is not written on here yet, but the supply of labor is something that comes from workers' willingness to work, right? If workers aren't willing to work, it doesn't matter what their marginal revenue product is. They're just simply not going to work for you. So this red line you could think of as the labor supply. Where does that come from? I think it comes from your outside options. So for the workers to the left here, I need a term for this outside option. I think I use, I forget what my term was. I have some slides about this. I think maybe we should just say X because we're all familiar with X as a variable. Let's say, text. X equals outside option. So in terms of, so this outside option is something that you could measure against your wage. Okay, so if you're, in other words, if you work, you get a wage. If you don't work, you get this outside option. And let's say they're both measured on the same units, which is a big assumption, you might say. If my outside option is just playing video games all day, how do you measure that in terms of dollars per hour? Because wage is measured in dollars per hour. Video game playing is generally not measured in dollars per hour. It might be measured in some kind of utility that you gain, but still. Let's talk about the workers' side of it. I actually think, how will the workers be sorted into this market? I've created a fictional market right here with these red and green lines crossing. It's the workers with the lowest outside option that are going to take this wage, right? This wage of W star, it's the workers who, once again, I'm going to look at who are these guys. These are the people with an outside option X less than W star. That's the prediction, isn't it? And there's some people over here who aren't working. Why aren't they working? Well, actually, this market will sort them into the people whose outside option X is greater than W star. And what I'm saying is actually stronger than just the fact that the market happens to sort people into people who want to work for this wage and people who don't want to work from this age. It's even more than that. I'm saying that the wage itself is determined by people's outside options, partially. It's determined by the red line and the green line. They both determine the competitive equilibrium wage in this market. There's an old adage here about, what determines, if you ask what determines a price, the supply or the demand, that's kind of like asking, if you're using scissors to cut a piece of paper, which blade of the scissors is doing the cutting? Is it the top blade or the bottom blade? Like spending your time thinking about that. Is it the top blade that's cutting? Is it the bottom blade that's cutting? It's obviously both blades. There would be no cutting at all of the paper if you didn't have both blades. The same is true for a market. When you talk about supply and demand, which is the one that determines the equilibrium? It's both. Okay, so the green line and the red line together determine this W star. And these outside options, I'm calling them X. But you should think of that as just like what else could I be doing other than being in this market? And can I say one more thing? Not, at least one more thing, but I want this to be clear. What I've drawn for you here, it's called a partial equilibrium. It's not a general equilibrium. It's not showing you every possible thing you could be doing with how to allocate your hours of your life between leisure and labor and all the other possible places you could be supplying labor. This is just one market for one type of labor. Maybe this is the unskilled labor market in Richmond, Virginia is being modeled here. So your outside option, I'm not saying where it comes from. It could be your outside option is to go to school and get an education, and you have some value for that, and you can measure it in terms of X. Or maybe your outside option is to work for your parents. Your parents can give you a job, and you can work for them, and it's not a great job, but at least it's safe. Or maybe your outside option is to go to Hollywood and try to be an actor. You know what I mean? It could be anything. These are sort of homegrown values for people. And okay, I have a comment. Okay, let's now transition to this exercise. I want there to be two firms, and the firms, I'm going to induce this green line. This green line is your decreasing marginal revenue product for each additional worker. Unlike in the signaling game, I'm going to make everyone have the same ability. Everyone has the same productivity. However, the more people you hire, the decreasing productivity of each worker. That's a pretty common assumption, the diminishing marginal returns of labor. Okay, how about the red line? That will be your outside option. I tried to think of a good way to assign outside options. You know what I think I want to do? I think it's the quickest and easiest way. Well, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you what I'll do later. First of all, I would like to get two firms. I would like to have two people willing to be firms. I'll just use the first two people who chat that they want to be willing to be a firm. Just like last time, the firms are the people who offer wages to workers. And if you get somebody who accepts your wage, then it's like you've hired that person. You want to be Daniel and Colin again? You guys have experience doing that. You're like the tycoons of this class. Let's do it, bro. All right, Daniel and Colin are going to be excuse me. Let's share this. Okay, so the firms, there are going to be two firms. One is the Daniel. Daniel was the first one. Daniel, do you want to name Daniel Company or something like that?
Yeah, no preference. Just go ahead.
You don't care what your name is? And the Colin Incorporated. I don't know. Who wants to work for the Daniel Company and who wants to work for Colin Incorporated? I like this to be merged. I don't know why that's something I care about. Wasting time. Okay, so here, can you see the screen I'm sharing? It says Econ 300 Fall 2020 exercises.
Yep.
It's the same sheet I've been keeping all of our games on. So like actually here's we've only done two. We've done two games so far, and here are your scores. And the leading score so far is Robert. Not necessarily that he's been some genius mastermind here. He's pretty much gotten lucky. and done well in the hedge fund manager game and done well in the signaling game where he got to go to Harvard. He got to be the highest ability and go to Harvard. Okay, so there's a lot of luck here. I have to not to take away anything from Robert's success. Is Robert even here today? Otherwise, he's not going to do well if he's not here. Oh, now he is here. Well, we'll see if he's paying attention. It looks like he's paying attention. Sorry, guys. Robert's probably gonna maintain his stranglehold on the lead in our meta contest to see who gets the most exercise points over the course of this semester. I actually usually do even more exercise than I've been doing, but being in Zoom, it's harder to do. But we're going to try to make it work today. So once again, Daniel, you can see here, I've written the marginal revenue products. So Daniel Company, the first person you hire, whoever it is, let's say it's Robert. I'll put Robert's name here. And let's say you give Robert a wage of, I think whatever I say here is going to have like an anchoring effect. If you've taken behavioral economics, it's going to like sink in as what you think wages should be. So I'm really just pulling a number here. Don't think, let me admit, I'm just pulling a number out here and don't think that it's one that should represent your wage going forward. So the wage, let's say it is 23. I'll pick that because it's LeBron's number, also Jordan's, but okay. What does this mean? Well, Robert will earn 23 points for that. What about Daniel? He will get the difference between the marginal revenue product and this wage. So he'll actually be earning, at least for Robert, he will be earning 35 minus 23. He'll be earning 12 points for that. Okay, and then if he hires somebody else, who else do I have in this chat? Shreyas, also at a wage of 23. The Daniel Company will earn 7 points for that. Do you see why it's 7? It's the difference between the marginal revenue product and the wage. Really, I want Daniel and Colin to understand how they're. So let's say these are the only two people you hire, Daniel. Okay. I will calculate your total MRP. It will be 35 plus 30 is 65. Your total wages would be 46. And then your total profit, that's what you care about, is your profit, is equal to your total MRP minus your total wage. Okay? You would earn 19 points then for this exercise. Does that make sense, Daniel? Same thing is true for you, Colin. But you've got to find people to work for you. If you can't find anyone to agree to work for you, you'll simply just get 0 for this exercise. Daniel and Colin, do you understand how your role in this works?
Yeah, I get it.
Let me turn you up a little bit. I have you down on this. You get it?
Yeah, I understand.
Where's Colin?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, so you guys have had some experiences being firms. You maybe even have a relationship with some workers that you can rekindle. But anyways, that's how your end of this is going to work. You are the labor demand. You're that green line. This is how much you demand people. You don't care who you're hiring, but you do care how many people you hire, and you care what their wages are. And let me just say, it's not like, you see how, just because you hired Shreyas didn't mean that this person's marginal revenue product went down to 30. It stays at 35. That's what makes it marginal. It's just, I'm telling you what the next person's productivity is. Okay. But let's talk about the workers.
Breakout rooms?
Are you talking to me?
I remember last time when we tried to do the assignment, everyone wanted to get the same weight as everybody else because they knew what we were doing.
Yeah. So you can do it privately.
Oh, I can message. Okay, privately.
You can message people. Do you know how to do it with the chat? You just go to 2, you select their name, and in fact, workers, if you would like to make private messages, you can do either one. You can do public messages or this is America. It's a free country. If we had a communist system, we would just tell you where you're working, and we would tell you what your wage is, and that's it. You don't have any control. But this is America, so you can negotiate. All right. Let me explain how the workers are going to work. Workers, you are going to have an outside option. That's where that red line comes from. I deliberated a lot where your outside option should come from, and to save time and to hopefully to be a little bit more fair, I'm going to say it's double your quiz 3 score. Okay, and this is private. I kind of like this. Nobody knows what you double your quiz threes. Maybe that's too high. Okay, I'm trying to think here. I don't know. Uh,
That's perfect.
let's try it. Let's double your quiz three score. So you can look on Blackboard to see what your quiz three scores if you don't know. Let's just try it. If it's a disaster, like, oh well, it didn't work. That is your outside option. So if you're a worker, if you get hired, your payoff will just be whatever your wage is. If you are not hired, your payoff will be whatever your outside option is. So I don't want to tell you what to do, but it seems pretty obvious to me that if you can get a wage that's better than your outside option, you should take it. It's just more points for you for this class. But if somebody offers you a wage that's worse than your outside option, you probably don't want to take it. And remember, the maximum score on the quiz was 10. So 10 times 2 is 20. That means the maximum outside option for anybody in this class is 20. And the minimum, of course, is 0. If you got a 0 on the quiz, that means you have no outside option, in which case I recommend you take a wage because it's better than getting your outside option of 0. Workers, that's the rest of you. Do you understand how this game is played? You're going to try to negotiate with either Daniel or Colin a wage that you'll work for them. And once again, it doesn't matter what order you get put in here. If you're a worker or if you're the company, it really doesn't matter. I will fix all of this later. But go ahead and start talking with each other. What I would like for you to do is tell me. No, sorry, Shreyas. I'm going to answer your question publicly because I think everyone would like to know this. So let me be explicit for, okay, so firms points will be equal to the total sum of MRP earned minus the sum of the wages paid. Okay, so that's how firms will be compensated. The workers' points is just equal to your wage if hired and your your outside option, which is double your quiz 3 score out of 10 if not hired. Okay. Shreyas, does that make sense? How much will you be making? If you find someone who's willing to hire you and gives you a wage, that's how many points you get. It's just simply equal to your wage. If no one hires you, then your points are equal to double your quiz 3 score, which I don't want to tell. I don't want anyone to necessarily know, but I wanted there to be a difference. I wanted some people to have more outside option than others. And I thought, what's the most fair way to assign these outside options? Just make it equal to your most recent score. Yeah, you want more. The more points you get, these are like points that you would earn in like a quiz. This is like part of your grade. Is 10% of your grade is your exercise points in your participation in the class. I've been keeping track of who shows up and who participates. But these points are just sort of like a quantitative measure of. I want you to care about the points, and the way I incentivize you is by making them like credit for the class. The more points you get, if you get beyond a certain threshold, think of it like extra credit. So has anybody hired yet? Daniel, Colin, have you hired anybody?
Yeah, I got Emmanuel on board
For what wage?
for a wage of $18 an hour.
Emmanuel, $18. Oh, can I put it up there?
Yes, you
Maybe I
can.
shouldn't do that yet. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh, all right.
You know, let's,
Let's keep it
you
low.
can, you, well, I'll ask you, do you mind if I put it up there? I think it might affect how much other people get. If you want to keep that private, how about you just write it down or something, and then you can tell me when you're done negotiating. Does
Yeah.
anybody want to make a public statement? So far, only one person has been hired, it sounds like. Oh, thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I got it.
I just hired Robert, Ria, Ryan, and Tina.
Okay, what are their wages?
Can I wait?
Oh, sure, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put Emmanuel here. You know, that's a good point. Just tell me who you hire, and I'll fill the wages in later. I'll fill the wages in later, and that'll allow you as a firm to sort of, I don't know what you would do. Discriminate?
I also hired Michelle.
Wow, you've okay. So you know Michelle's MR. Well, the fifth person's marginal revenue product is only 15. You realize that, right, Colin? You see how this column here.
Oh, I realized that now. Okay, I'm done hiring.
Wait, you didn't realize that before?
I wasn't sure if that was going to change. I thought it was, but I'm still good.
Okay. Did you actually think that it was always 35 or always 30?
No, I thought it was going to be like the last exercise that was going to be randomized, but
Oh, okay. That's why I asked to see if you understood what was happening, because the that's the diminishing returns to labor. That low downward sloping green line says that each person you hire brings in less revenue for your firm. But okay,
can I, in that case, can I rescind the offers to people?
um, I don't know if that's fair, but I should we let him, guys? What do you think? Should we let Colin rescind some offers? Daniel's got Nick. Daniel's got Nick. Daniel's got Shreyas. Okay, I think is it no one's saying anything, so I think maybe we should allow Colin to rescind some offers, or maybe try to renegotiate them.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
If you're paying people like 30 and they're only bringing in 15 for you as a firm, you're going to lose a lot of money. You know exactly how much you're going to lose. It says right here.
Okay, I'm good.
You're good? You want to keep these 5 people?
Yep.
Anybody else? Or we're done?
I'm negotiating one last client, so let me give me 2 seconds.
Okay. Client, I like this. It's an employee. You're making a labor contract with your employee. And you're going to say, I'll hire you for this wage. And they'll say, no, I want more. And you say, sorry, I'm not going to pay that. And then that's it. So you guys should know, if you don't hire someone, it's not the end of the world. That person still gets their outside option. You're not leaving them to starve on the street with zero payoff. They're still going to get a payoff. And we do have to end at some point.
I'm not hearing anything back from this last employee. I don't know if they're not there or not, but I haven't heard anything. So
Okay, so we're done. Give me your wages. So Colin earned 125 revenue. I should call this, revenue. And you earned 90 revenue. I'm going to take your revenue and I'm subtract what your wages, and those will be your profits. Okay. And everyone who participated will get those their wages, the workers. So can I just write in what you told me? So Emmanuel was 18.
I got one last contract that I have for you. So hold on.
Uh,
I'm gonna send it to you in the DM.
what is it? All right, I'll let you go, but we got to go. Who is it?
Myron.
Okay, for what?
Myron for 15.
15. Okay, Shreyas, somehow Shreyas negotiated a 20 payoff of 29, 18 and 18. I think maybe they have some sort of deal going where he needs the money, he needs the points or
That means you have
something.
to change my total revenue too as well, right?
Thank you. Yeah, this should be 110. And what is your total wage bill? It's exactly 80. So you made a profit of Daniel Coe made a profit of 30. All right.
My wages in order, Robert and Ria are at 25, Ryan is at 20, Tina is at 18, and Michelle is at 10.
Ryan is at 20. Tina is at 18. Is that right?
Yes.
And Michelle
And
is
10.
10. Is that what you said?
Yep.
I'm not sure Michelle understood the game. It seems like that could be bad for her, unless she didn't take quiz 3, got a 0 or something. Okay, so your total wages bill is 98, which means your profit was 27. So actually, Daniel got the most profit here. Good job, Daniel, with your shrewd wages. Okay, this was interesting, because yeah, actually, Daniel, you earned more than anybody else. I mean, the second highest earner was Shreyas with 29. He gets 29 points for participating in this exercise. Third is Colin for 27. Then these people who got 25. Okay, but good job. Thank you for participating. Yeah, you'll take it. I don't know how you got 29. Did you pay him real money for this or something?
Nah, he told me that Colin was offering him 28. So I was like, I only have 3 employees or 2 employees at the time. So I was like, all right, let me just.
Oh, sure, Colin was offering 28. I bet that was a bluff. I bet it was a bluff. It had to be a bluff.
I
Okay.
wasn't offering 28.
Okay, so
How much you, how much
we
you
now
offer?
know the tactics that are involved here. Here's what I want to do now. I want to look at these wages and say, there's now going to be a minimum wage. Let's do the same thing, the exact same thing over again, except now there's a minimum wage of 20. And see what happens. Okay? So let's forget everything that happened. Let's not forget. I'm gonna copy copy to new spreadsheet. What's happening here? Oh, sorry, the chat's in the way. Where'd it go? Sorry. um, duplicate maybe. Here we go. Duplicate was what I wanted. Here's a copy of the minimum wage game we just played. I'm going to delete the workers, and please feel no loyalty towards your firm. You can change, you can do something else, but you get to actually have two games now. So your total points for this class for this exercise will be what you got in the first plus what you get in the second time. The difference now is that there will be a minimum wage of 20. Okay, that's the only difference. And now negotiate with your Daniel and Colin. Once you have somebody confirmed that was working for you, like they agree that they will work for you at a certain wage, then tell me and I'll write their names on your firms. Okay? You guys are doing all the work for me in this exercise. I don't have to organize anything. This is nice. Anyone hired yet? Remember, the minimum wage is 20. If you say I want to hire you for 18 and they say great, I'll work for you for 18, too bad. Uncle Sam says not allowed. You cannot hire this person unless it's at least 20. Colin's got Ria, Tina, and Michelle. Daniel, you got anybody?
I got Nick.
I didn't understand him.
Oh, I have Nick. Nick.
Nick, all right. I will say it's very possible there are some workers here who don't get hired. And I'm sorry about that, but you will still get points if you're playing. So actually, um, here's what I want you to do. If you are playing this game and no one hires you, but you still want your points for participating, and then tell me that you'll take your outside option. If you send a chat to me that says I'll take your outside option, I'll record you for having participated, and I'll give you the points, whatever your outside option is. Remember, it's double your quiz 3 score. Those are the exercise points you'll get for this class for today. Daniel, you got Emmanuel too? Emmanuel also? Okay. Are we done?
I'm done hiring.
I'm still sending you stuff right now.
Okay. This is a free market, and it's decentralized, which means all the people, all the workers, all the firms sort of make their own. Daniel got Myron also. Okay, are we done? I think we're done. You could hire somebody else, but remember you have to pay them at least 20. Okay. Yeah. Daniel, you're hiring a fourth person, Shreyas,
Yeah.
or you're not hiring Nick anymore? What's happening here?
Yeah, I think I might have to settle on Shreyas. Yeah, that might be
Well,
my.
wait a second. Did you have a deal with Nick,
Did I have a deal with Nick? Yeah, I had a deal with Nick.
and
Hold on.
you're taking it back?
Oh no! Oh, did I not tell you his wages?
No, you didn't. But I want to know: are you hiring all four of these guys?
Just four. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Nick, Emmanuel, Myron, and Shreyas, and I'm assuming you're done. Okay, you got Shreyas for 23. You got Emmanuel for 22, Myron for 23, and Nick. You didn't say what Nick's wage was. It's 22. Okay, Ria, you hired at 25. She's the best paid worker in this whole market. Michelle gets 21, and Tina gets paid for 20. That's the minimum wage. Okay, so what happened? We are done. We're done here. What happened to these workers into this market? Compare. Oh, I should see what your total revenue is. It's at 110. I'm just reading it this way. Minus 90. So actually, Daniel Co. earned a profit of 20. What was your profit, Colin? 90 minus 66. Oh, I think Colin Inc. did better. I think so. 24. Good job, Colin Inc. But you still didn't do as well as Ria. Ria is the number one point getter for this half of the exercise. Congratulations to Ria. All right. What happened? I want to talk about the effective minimum wage here. That's the whole point of this exercise, is to introduce the minimum wage and calculate and analyze what its effects were. What do you guys think? Let's look at the number of people hired. So this one was without a minimum wage. Maybe I should label this. This was the no minimum wage treatment. And let's make it nice and big so we can all see. It's not that big. I'm underwhelmed by the size of that font. Okay. We had 9 people were hired in this treatment, and we had, I wish I could tell their average wages here. The average wage there is 20. and the average wage there is just under 20. Okay, so the average wages were just under 20, very close to 20 actually, in the no minimum wage treatment. But there were 9 people hired. For the minimum wage treatment, average wages went up. People weren't just earning the minimum wage, were they? They were earning something a little bit higher than the minimum wage. Daniel Coe and Colin Inc., did you even try to hire people at the minimum wage? I know you hired Tina at minimum wage, but everyone else you had to give something a little bit more than minimum. Was that on purpose?
Yeah, I had tried to bring it down to the minimum wage as possible, but even one of my employees thought that 20 was the maximum wage. So that's what we settled on at first, and then he read the instructions, and then boom, now I had to pay him like 22.
The maximum wage.
That
would be odd if the government said there was a maximum wage. There's some talk of doing this for CEOs, capping executive pay at some fraction of the total income, or some multiple of the average worker's pay. But other than that, I've not heard any policies about a maximum wage. In this country, we seem to think that there is no limit to how much someone can earn. But there was a little bit, some unemployment. Are there some people who didn't get hired in the second game who still want their points for participating? Or maybe is it that everyone else just stopped participating? Ryan will take his outside option. Okay. I'll record these scores. Outside option. Ryan, anybody else? Robert. Okay, you still get some points. You get double your, if you got a 10 on the quiz 3 and you double it, you get 20, which is exactly what minimum wage is. And I'll look up your quiz 3 scores later and input those. But is this what minimum wage was designed to do? What do you guys think? It had this effect of decreasing, because there were some workers whose marginal revenue product was either 20 or even down to 15 that were getting hired before, and they're not being hired now. I designed it to be that way. What do you guys think about bargaining power? Workers, what do you think? Did it help you? Did it give you some bargaining power? Just to know that the least that they could pay you is 20. And before 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people were being paid less than a minimum wage. Did it help you in terms as a negotiating? You just have this tool, or I don't know what it's called, something that you can use to help you negotiate for a better wage. It helped establish a baseline to start off of. I think so too. So we're going to talk on Wednesday about the good and bad of having a minimum wage. The bad thing is real easy to see, isn't it? It's that there could be some workers here who would have accepted a wage less than 20, but they simply weren't allowed to. And we saw that the firm's no problem hiring below the 20 MRP. Exactly, Colin. There were some workers who, the word here is infra-marginal. Have you heard this term before? Infra-marginal. That just means below the equilibrium price, or the equilibrium wage. The marginal worker, there's some workers who are infra-marginal that aren't going to be able to work because they won't be hired because the minimum wage was too high. It's possible that could happen in this market. Does that mean it's totally a bad thing though? Because the people who did get hired, they got this boost of having some additional bargaining power. And what about the people who weren't hired? The people who weren't hired, it's not that they were left out high and dry and like, okay, sucks to be you. You still get your outside option. And you could argue that improving these people outside option is another very, very important goal in improving the health of this market, improving the situation of these workers. And we can talk, if you want to say there should be a higher minimum wage, what if you couple that with the policy that says, and we need to make sure the people who are not being hired have something to do, some outside option. It could be universal basic income. It could be some sort of job training that helps them get a different type of job where the minimum wage is no longer even a factor. Think about that, right? Most people don't work for a job that would be around minimum wage. At least I don't have the data in front of me, but most people, I would say in this country, their wage is above minimum wage, considerably above. And you could imagine if you increase the minimum wage, you're going to increase these inframarginal workers who actually end up without having a job. It's actually unemployment. It actually increases unemployment. That's what we'll call it. So whoever's arguing, I'm sorry, I forget who's arguing for increased minimum wage. Hopefully you'll talk about this on Wednesday, that by increasing the starting point, you're giving workers who otherwise have very little bargaining power, at least some bargaining power, because the firm wants to pay them as little as possible. Hopefully I picked people, Daniel and Colin, who were aggressive enough that they wanted to give you a low wage. I actually like that. I let these two guys be firms because I know they would do a good job trying to get the wages down, to try to maximize their own payoffs. We'll talk about this Wednesday. Do you guys have any comments or points before we end? Minimum wage. Minimum wages. I do enjoy these sorts of topics and these sorts of things. And you guys did a good job. It worked just how I wanted it to. 9 people were hired before the minimum wage. 7 people were hired after the minimum wage. But average wages went up for the people after minimum wage. They didn't just all get 20. They all got something a little bit over 20, except for Tina. She got 20. So great exercise. It was fun for me. I don't know if it was fun for you, but it's fun for me. You guys have any points? I'll fill in your points and your outside options later, and update the running totals for the exercise points in the class. And if you're curious, I'll let you know. It's not a secret. I can tell you